All right, awesome. So thank you everyone for joining us and welcome to Finding Freedom. We're super excited to have everyone here and super excited for this opportunity. When I was a client myself at Ken Seeley Rehab, I had heard about Richard walking from coast to coast for gay rights, and that always fascinated me. And I thought, what now than a better time to sit down and actually learn more about his journey and share it with you guys as well. So my name is Drew LePage, and I'm the PR marketing specialist for Ken Seeley Rehab. And today I have Richard Noble here.
Yes, you do.
Thank you, Richard, for coming. And so, yeah, this is a live Q&A. You guys at the end or during the presentation at all, if you have any questions, feel free to pop in and ask your questions. We want it to be interactive and fun. So we're gonna start off, and I wanna know, like, did you actually like physically walk from like coast to coast? Like, I just can't even imagine.
I did. So, well, first of all, Drew, thank you for inviting me here. Yes, it was about 5,400,000 steps, and the human being walks on an average of about 3 miles an hour. So, in 15 months, I walked about 3,000 miles, and in the spirit of the gay kids that were committing suicide and the transgender folks that were being murdered,
Mhm.
and to answer the call of the late Harvey Milk, the mayor of San Francisco that was assassinated. I had the open rainbow flag. I had bolted on a staff that I had bought from Home Depot, and I unfurled it at the north end of the Golden Gate Bridge on March 12th of 2007, and I began my journey, my 15-month journey across the United States. I originally, this was my big intervention for the nation. My original idea was I just wanted to be out for the kids and show them that it's okay to have courage and to be out. And it ended up turning into be something much greater than that. And so, yes, it was definitely a boots to the ground journey.
Yeah, definitely. And so like where did the like idea come from? Like you were just, just popped in your head and you just like went through it, or like was there a process to it, or
I,
how
I
did it all happen?
so I think that there was a process. So we're anticipating the repeal of Don't Ask, Don't Tell. So gays could openly serve in the military. And here in Palm Springs, I had decided to walk the rainbow flag from, or march it with a backpack from Palm Springs to the Marine base. And I mapped it out, and that was a 7-day journey. So I backpacked, I bolted the rainbow flag on a staff, and that was a 7-day backpacking journey. And it was an overnight, marching every day, putting up the tent at night, and making freeze dried meals and doing all that. And I had grown up in the Boy Scouts and backpacking in Yosemite National Park, so the outdoors and camping was something I was very familiar with. It's something I actually very loved. I loved building a fire and looking at the stars at night, and so that was no problem for me. So I when people had heard about what I was about to do, there was a lawyer that had sort of found out about me, and we got into an argument. And he said, we are entitled to full federal equality. And he brought up the idea of adding sexual orientation and gender identity to all of America's federal civil rights laws. And I was sort of taken back by it, and I blocked him on Facebook. And I thought he was a sort of a snob and arrogant and argumentative. And I needed to put up some boundaries with him. And he found me again. And this time I decided to have a real honest conversation about and open my mind to what he was saying. And I did not grow up with a sense of entitlement. I thought entitlement was a bad word. People who are entitled are like, oh, that person's entitled. And
Yeah.
and he actually convinced me with the international Declaration on Human Rights, and really sort of taking a look at the Equal Protection Clause of the Constitution, that LGBT people, under the words of sexual orientation and gender identity, actually are entitled to equal protection under the law and equal rights under the law. But I never had grown up with a sense of entitlement, and I thought, you know what? And he told me about this idea of an American Equality Bill. We now know that is the Equality Act, which later on down, through the Walk Across America, we developed this thing called the Equality Pledge Network in my walk across the USA, and garnered a lot of people signing on to this pledge network, built a coalition, a national coalition, and a voice of all these organizations that by the time I got to Washington, D.C., and I met with our organizations and members of Congress, there was this voice that said, we are ready for a comprehensive civil rights bill to protect the LGBT community. And at first they were like, no, that's not what we want to do. We want to re-elect Obama. We want to push marriage equality and get it passed in the Supreme Court. And we were all like, we also want a civil rights bill. So it took them a couple of years after my walk completed, that Congressman Cicilline of the First District of Rhode Island met with Sarah Warburla, who is the senior legal counsel of the Human Rights Campaign, and they got together and they wrote the Equality Act. And I'm happy to say it is a treasure of the LGBT community, and something that's been in the works for decades. And it is a promise of President Biden to sign that into law. And it's a very exciting time in our community.
So, yeah, definitely. We're close. So, yes. We're almost there.
So that little rainbow flag in me is a great intervention. And it's something that I love Ken and Eric about. They talk about intervention. And I think that walking, for me, that walking that rainbow flag across America, I have scars on my wrists from when I was a little kid and I was bullied and beat up and spit on. Mm-hmm. And, I have my own traumas of what that isolation felt like. And it's a horrible feeling to feel like. And when I heard of this Black kid being tied up and dragged behind a pickup truck in Texas and died, and of Matthew Shepard being beat up and hung up on a fence to die in Wyoming, and kids, shooting themselves and hanging themselves at 13, just a decade ago, it broke my heart. And I thought, this happened to me as a kid. I can't take this anymore. And that was the idea of walking the rainbow flag across America. Enough was enough, and we're not going to take this anymore. And luckily, there was a nation that heard that call, and there were members of Congress. And when the walk finished, the Obama administration had heard about it. And I kind of was loud about it. So they invited me to the White House, and I got to stand, in front of President Obama and Michelle, and I said, we have this idea of a comprehensive civil rights bill. And Obama said, bring me the bill. And we brought him the bill. And when the Equality Act was written, he endorsed it. So, we're excited. We're excited about the prospect. And I have to say, yesterday, thank God, through executive order, Joseph Biden signed an executive order. And for the first time in LGBT history, we have full federal equality under the law. Now we just need a bill to make it permanent for history, right? Which will be the passage of the Equality Act. So it's very exciting. It's a very exciting time in our lives.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
Finding freedom, we have it.
Yeah. Exactly.
So, yeah.
So I can imagine, I just think about walking a couple miles home, and that just seems like an adventure in itself. I can't imagine going across the country. Was there a certain experience during your walk that really sticks out the most, and bad or worst, or just anything?
That people ask me that question. I just think it's those times alone when I got to grapple with myself and where I got to sort of challenge my down moments and say, this is a time there were times when I wanted to quit, when I thought, no one's supporting me, no one's hearing me, there's no support, and I'm going to give up. And those were the times where I got to go back and, I spent time with a lot of Native American Indians, and they taught me their religion, and their religion was gratitude. And I remember I was with a Paiute, the Walker River tribe in Nevada. And there's a big history there. There was a kid in 1927 by the name of Harry Hay. And their prophet said, you're going to one day grow up to become a great friend of the people. And he didn't know that in 1950, he would start the Mattachine Society at Silver Lake, which was a group of gay men. And he had heard about Alcoholics Anonymous, of these people getting together in an anonymous group of people to talk about stuff. And he thought, what if our community did that, in a secret way? So they found this house in Silver Lake, and they started the Mattachine Society. Anyway, long story short, they took me on a trip to river to find some sage. And the gal, she said, there's some sage right there. Why don't you go pick some? And I was going to run over there and like pick a big old branch. She said, no, stop, just a little piece that you're going to need for prayer. And when you pick that piece, leave an offering, take a little penny or a little piece of paper, a little tobacco, and give it to the earth and say thank you to the plant for giving you what you need. And then that'll be your medicine. So I think the greatest gift, I know it sounds corny, but the greatest gift that I learned on my walk was to give gratitude for the small things this earth has supplied us with. Does that sound corny? It sounds a little corny, but
no, I love it. And I actually remember you saying that when you were teaching that group that I was in, when you had mentioned it. So yeah, right. I really love that, the giving back. And
yeah. I mean, it was a lot of fun, whitewater rafting the Colorado River, meeting mayors, getting proclamations from the Sioux of South Dakota. There's been a lot of great things, meeting the president and all that stuff. But those quiet moments where I got to meet myself and where I wanted to give up and think that nobody was out there. Nobody knew I was out in the middle of nowhere in America with a rainbow flag fighting for a bill that nobody even heard of. Mm-hmm. Nobody knew what I was doing, but I had this idea, and I knew it was the truth. And I knew that one day that LGBT equality would be realized in America, even if everybody thought their only focus was getting Obama reelected and getting marriage equality, with Jim Obergefell going to the Supreme Court and getting that passed. And we got that passed. But I had this, there was a small group of us activists in the country who had this idea of a civil rights act for our people. And we were a small group of people. And I had to hold on to that dream. That was the dream. And even though the big organizations weren't hearing us out, it took a walk across America. And I knew I had to do this walk. I knew it had to be something big to get their attention. Mm-hmm. And we got their attention. So. Yes, we did. So, yeah.
Well, awesome. Thank you so much for being here. I do want to open it up. If anyone in the audience has any questions, you can chime in. You can unmute yourself and just ask, because the screen's kind of far away, so I can't really read because I don't have my glasses. But if any of you have any questions, please speak up.
Hi, happy equality, everybody.
Or why don't you tell them how they could reach you, Drew? Like your
email. For sure.
I'll put it in the chat for you.
Yeah, for sure. So once again, I am Drew LePage, PR and marketing specialist for Ken Seeley Rehab. And if you have any questions, PR marketing related at all, you can reach me at drew@kscfamily.com. And Renee said she'd put that in the chat for me. And then also, if you want to reach out to Richard, that's Richard@KSC Family as well.
Yeah, and I'll just say this came with 2 years of sobriety. I had this idea, and my sponsor said, "Don't do any big things without asking your sponsor first." So I called him up and I said, "I have this idea." And he said, "Yeah, go for it." So, yeah. So.
Yeah, and I know I'm, as a gay male myself, I'm thankful that there's people like you who, have advocated for our rights and everything that you do. I'm very appreciative of it. And it was awesome sitting here it was a very short amount of time, but I did learn a lot, and it's always much appreciated. So
You're welcome,
thank you for that.
Of course.
And thank you everyone for joining us. Follow us on social media to see what we're up to. I'd love to hear from you guys, and thank you so much for joining us. I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did, and we'll see you next time. Bye.